Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, became a best-selling book after its 2020 release, challenging the world's view of what racism really is. Author and journalist Isabel Wilkerson's life and her process of researching for this book is now a critically acclaimed film, Origin, helmed by Selma director Ava DuVernay. Our Linsey Davis sat down with DuVernay to talk about the film and the new pathway she used for funding and the Oscar race.
You don't escape trauma by ignoring it. You escape trauma by confronting it. I don't write questions. I write answers.
So, the first time you read Caste, are you thinking right away, this could be a movie?
Absolutely not. Caste is a beautiful book by Isabel Wilkerson that is basically an anthropological thesis. You know, it's talking about, ideas writ large, a lot of facts, figures, anecdotes, but no character. Usually when I read a book and I see a character, I think there's a movie in there. This didn't have that, but when I read it the second time, I started to hear her voice. She writes in the first person in certain spaces, and I started to become intrigued with her as a person, and then eventually as a character who could lead us through the thesis of the book.
I'm Isabel.
Yeah, I know.
And how did you ultimately learn about her personal life beyond just the journalist, but as the wife and the daughter, and then decide, I need to marry this with that thesis?
Well, as I was, you know when you watch a movie or you read a book and you want to know more about the person, or I Googled her, and I'd learned that she had suffered some losses, personal losses in her life. When I reached out to her to ask her if she might be interested in my adaptation of the book, and she was very gracious and generous in opening up her personal life to me so that I could tell the story of what she really cared about, which was Caste, and to get that out there. And so it was kind of, the film is two trains running. It's that personal story of her personal loss and our collective loss, which is the story that she wanted to tell.
Most relationships end. Friendships, romances.
And we hear her in the movie quoting to her editor, racism as the primary language to explain everything is insufficient.
Yes.
That seems to be the premise then upon which the book and therefore the movie is built on. How did you go about taking that theme and turning it into a movie? Well,
the investigation, the unfolding of the mystery of how do we get from race, everything is race, to she had an inkling there's something else there that she wanted to dig into, and she starts to study caste, and she travels the world to gather examples. But one of the things that she told me in my interviews with her was that the Trayvon Martin case was the impetus, the spark to start to think about, wait, everyone's calling that race, but it doesn't quite fit in the box. You have a Latino killer of a black boy, and the assault is in protection of a white community. Well, how's that race? How does that, and so that started to get her as an author and an investigator and a former reporter intrigued, and she went and she set about trying to figure it out.
Have you heard the tapes?
No. Of what?
Sanford Police Department, this is Sean.
Hey, we've had some break-ins in my neighborhood, and there's a real suspicious guy. Looks like he's up to no good or something.
Doing it without a studio, do you think you've created this new pathway?
Well, independent filmmaking it has a long legacy, but for me, in terms of the way we raise the money, we raise the money through philanthropic organizations, through nonprofits that have the same mission as the movie, which is justice and dignity for all and to fight for our freedoms. And so instead of going to a studio to create the budget, we went to these organizations and said, would you ever be interested in doing a film?
Tell us about the history that you made at the Venice Film Festival.
Well, this is the world's oldest film festival, and it is one that has not seen an African-American woman in competition. And while, yes, it was a beautiful moment when it happened, it was very bittersweet in terms of the absence that my first really highlights. That in the world's oldest film festival, that in 2023 was the first time it was deemed, I don't know, worthy to have an African-American woman in competition, which is ridiculous when we know all of the incredible work that had been done before. So these moments, these first moments, they they're not necessarily anything that I'm personally proud of. There's something that I think asks us to take that moment to interrogate why it is the first this late in the game.
Still 2024, still experiencing firsts.
I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
I've heard you talk about your relationship with Ingenue for this as the most intellectually rigorous actor collaboration. How so?
Well, Ingenue Ellis Taylor's mind is a brilliant one, and she also is fearless. And we had a relationship in which we were very open with one another in terms of what we both needed. And so there were times where she said, you know, this line I don't quite get. And usually as a director, I'll say, this is what it means. And okay, I got it, I'll figure it out. She said, yeah, I still don't get it. Would you want to rewrite it? Do you want to take a look at this a little bit closer? And so it was that kind of collaboration and pushing. We looked at the material. There were things we both agreed with, things we disagreed with, even within the book, disagreed with each other. And so we're constantly on the set pushing and pulling each other to get to a place where we were trying to figure out how to make this very kind of monumental concept of cast accessible.
I want to be in the story, really inside the story.
What does it mean to get that Oscar buzz or not for a project that you know is great?
I've really had to wrestle with this year the fact that this film, being with a very tiny, distributor, not with the Netflixes and the Warner Brothers and the places that I've been with in the past, does not have the muscle to be seen as widely. And so this film has not had those that awards buzz and glitter because of many reasons. And I've had to grapple with myself as to how I feel about that, and had to really put my work in its proper place and understand for myself what matters to me. And so it's been an illuminating time for me to kind of check myself, really in the same way with David Oyelowo and not being nominated for Selma. I feel the same way about Ingenue Ellis Taylor and not having kind of light on her for this transcendent performance. But no one's talking about with David Oyelowo what he didn't get with Selma. They just talk about what a performance it is. Time will tell. And so I believe that this film will be one that lasts, and that makes me really proud.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.